I once felt like I was wrapped in barbed wire, just really, really tight. The world was against me. Society, family, friends. It felt like I was being challenged by everything, being judged by everything, and I felt really tight. And all these wounds were being created, and I was bleeding. I was bleeding in a mental sense. There was a lot of anxiety, depression. My mental faculties were being taken down by the day. And I just kept on bleeding and bleeding my willpower out. And I kind of realized if I just relax, stop trying to push against it and just relax and let it fall off. So when I relaxed, it metaphorically fell off. I encounter so many people every day who are completely concerned with how other people view them or how they would describe themselves to other people instead of people who describe themselves as they would see themselves. Now, when you ask a lot of people, they're going to be like, okay, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. This is what I do, this is what I work on, these are my hobbies. But a lot of them I found, these are descriptions for other people. They're not defining themselves for themselves or defining themselves for other people. And it's a shame because it's not just about labeling. It's about a lot of the quantification that we have in regards to our relationship to ourselves comes in the form of us addressing how other people see us, how we want them to see us. I have reached a point to where I've bottomed out on a lot of things. Let me put it this way. So before, when I used to get sad or lonely, I'd go way down. That pit has been filled up a lot. So even when I get sad or lonely, I don't go as far down. I just go a little bit down. Because that pit has been filled up with experience, with logic, with spiritual progression. So when I do fall, I actually don't fall as far. Because it's not about climbing out of the pit alone. It's about having certain understandings that allow you to not fall as hard if you do, and you're going to. When it comes to spiritual paths, I find that so many people are reactionary. So many people. It's like, just go do your own we should all just go do our own shit. Don't react. But a lot of people define themselves by reaction. Protestants responding to the Catholics. Christians a lot responding to the Jews. Muslims responding to other various prophets. Satanists responding to Christianity. I mean, I've studied Satanism for a while, and I don't know as much about it as I could, but I will say that it's just so reactionary. It's like, okay, satanic rituals, you degrade Christ in all these different ways. Honestly, if I was a Satanist, I'd be like, fuck Christ. I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm just going to go off in this new direction. I don't need to react to Christ or Christianity. Just don't need to. Why? And then you'll get the response that, okay, well, they control everything and it's the slave god, and if we don't react, then they're going to take control away from everybody. But honestly, you're giving way too much control to your enemy. Not only by holding yourself relative to them, but also thinking that they're that powerful. I don't think Christianity is as powerful as other people think. Yeah, sure, this world seems like there's a lot of Christians, sure, whatever. There's some basic laws and there's a lot of governmental influences that are very heavily Christian-based, sure. But in the grander scheme of things, man, if you just did your own thing, if you just retracted from society, you'd be completely fine, and you'd find something that's more everlasting than you could ever imagine. I don't take sides. So I'm the kind of person that most people hate. Whether it be the so-called left-hand path or right-hand path, or religion, or a lot of groups in spirituality. There's not a single group for me. And I'm okay with that. I'm kind of like, screw everybody. That's a little harsh. I'm okay with everybody, but I'm not going to follow any one group. I'm not going to read a book and do a ritual for Christians, or to call it to Satanists or Cthulhu. I have no interest in reading other people's books and doing exactly what they want me to do. Like, sure, I might use it every now and then, but I'm forming my own path, man. I don't need to. I don't need to go to a god or a demon to expand upon myself, to use myself as launching pad in spirituality and creating my own path. Now, a lot of people aren't as creative. Now I sound egotistical, and I don't mean to, even if I am. For most people, whether it be left hand, right hand path, spirituality, religion, there's so much just reaction to what there already is. There's so much of, okay, I'm going to follow this because of these other things. And most people kind of miss the point of themselves. So I saw this really funny meme today. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. It's probably because I drink a few beers. I'm not drunk, though. Somebody in my last videos, no, not last video, 2 videos ago said, "Are you drunk?" In that video, I was. In this one, I am actually not drunk. But I thank you, Old Salty, for pointing that out because, yes, and I'm okay with that. I do drink, just to let everybody know out there, whoever didn't know. And I smoke cigarettes. Oh, my God. So... So, going to that, I actually forgot my original point, but I'm going to go to the next point that I was going to give. So, there's this guy that I talked to about 3 days ago, and he's led a couple group rituals, and it was funny because I don't want to go into exactly who it is and whatever. It doesn't really matter. But he kept on talking about, how much he knew about dealing with the Eldritch gods and, how great he was as a teacher. And, I questioned him, like, why don't you ever want to discuss? Why don't we just have a conversation instead of you telling me what to do and telling us what to do? And I kind of knew how to get under his skin. But as a prelude, I will say that I work at a grocery store while I'm going to college, but I don't think of myself as a goddess or anything super. I don't care. I don't want to describe myself as like, oh, I'm this great thing. Just people don't realize how great I am. It's stupid. I don't care about that shit. People in society do it. People in spirituality do it. I'm just me. I don't need to be God. I don't need to be a saint. I don't need to be anything. I'm just me. That's it. But he's like, I'm a great teacher of how to connect to the Eldritch gods. And I'm like, really? That's interesting. What do you do for a living? You told me you work full time. He's like, I'm a teacher of occultists. I'm like, you told me you had a job full time. What is that job? And then it's funny because then after that, he's like, I'm going to curse you, in this way and that way. I'm going to curse you as much as I can. And I'm like, that's fine, but what do you do during the day? Like, what is your job? You told me you work full time. What is it? He didn't contact me again. He didn't even read the messages I had after that. And guess what? I ain't cursed. I'm doing good. I feel fucking great. Not only do I feel great, I'm pretty happy right now. I'm pretty happy with myself and my situation. Not only did his Eldritch gods curse his work, and I do believe in the Eldritch gods, by the way. Not only that they didn't work, he never looked at the conversation again. He didn't even read the later messages because, damn, I got to him. It was so good because he wanted to believe that he was so much better than everybody else and he could contact the gods of destruction and then shoot them at me and cause some destruction in my life. That was his little, I don't know, that toy where you spin it and it pops out. Anyway, I don't know what that's called. I forgot. Jack in the Box. There we go. He thought that he was so powerful. But then when I brought something as simple as, hey, what do you do during the day? Exited the conversation. And his curses failed. This happens a lot. A lot. Whether it be Christians saying, oh, God's going to send you to hell. Or whether it be people on, I don't know, what, demonic paths, I guess you could say. I'm going to curse you and, you're this or that. So many people are full of shit because they think they're so great. If they would just step back and say, why do I care how people look at me? Why do I care how people label me? Why do I care if I can do anything to anybody? Because you shouldn't. The only reason you'd want to shoot curses at somebody most of the time, and granted, there's some good reasons to curse somebody, don't get me wrong, but most of the time, it's just for petty shit. And honestly, I just wish people would describe themselves just as, hey, I'm me. I do this, I do that. You don't have to be like this grand title. You don't need that. That is a shadow. No, it's not a shadow. It's an attempt to armor the weakness that you have in your heart. I don't mean weakness as not loving people. I mean, deep down, you feel like you're a piece of shit. And you want to put armor on that with words, with ideas. But deep down, anybody who feels like they're a piece of shit knows it. That's not always a good thing. I don't want people to feel like they are pieces of shit. But just be honest with yourself. Like, don't lie to other people because you're lying to yourself. It doesn't make the situation any better for you in the long run. It just doesn't. Just be you, man. That's... God, that sounded so stupid. Just be you, man. But you don't need to be something better than others in order to have a sense of inherent value in yourself. You don't need that. It's worth taking a break from communication with other people, which, geez, I did for a long time, to figure out who you are. And even if you're in contact with other people, try to describe yourself less. Try to affect other people less. If you want something from somebody, so I'm talking about magically, spiritually, try to do that less for a time. Just observe. And just observe yourself, most importantly. How you react. Who you truly are. Behind all these labels, behind this label of God, Goddess, Grand Magician, Black Magician, behind the label of an apotheosed God, behind the label of a saint, a spiritual being, behind the label of someone who is great at astral projection, some of that's imagination. All these labels, get rid of them. Look at yourself without these filters, because these filters are things that we layer upon ourselves like a mummy. We're wrapping ourselves in all this cloth, assuming that we're going to be preserved, that we are going to preserve our self-image if we wrap ourselves in all these cloths. But they decay very quickly. They are not like actual mummification, actually. Actual mummification lasts longer than all the cloths we wrap ourselves in. Engage yourself truly. You don't need to be an adversary. Be you. Who gives a shit about the other side? There are no sides. Just be you. You don't need to react. Don't be reactionary. There's no point. Just be you. Move forward as you. Whatever that is. If you want to be an adversary and waste your fucking life, go ahead. But I'm telling you, just be you. You don't need to react to everybody else. Whether it be on the Christian or Satanist side, whether it be on the left, right-hand path, don't react. Just follow your path of self-evolution. And the first step of self-evolution is not reaction. It's not giving yourself a label. The first act of self-evolution is looking at yourself as you truly are and not caring what other people think or what other people label you as. And that sounds so simple. It sounds so simple, but the vast majority of the people that I talk to can't make that step. Hell, you know what? Maybe I haven't made that step, but I'm open to that option. I'm open to that idea. I'm not angry by that idea. Just be open to the idea and truly look at yourself. And then if you find something that you didn't believe before, you don't have to share that with anybody. Just move forward from that. The only progress you need to make is relative to where you were, not relative to other people or where they were. You don't need to be more important. You just need to be further along than you were before. That's how we all move forward. That's the only way. You don't need to be grand, especially at the beginning. You don't need to be a god or a goddess or a spirit or a being of great truth. You don't need to be a being of some kind of ultimate power. You don't need to be that. Especially at the beginning. If you want to shoot for that, sure, but these are just cloths, and they have words on them, but they're very thin. You know, for the first time in my life, in the last year, I have not cared what people think about me, and I have accepted and loved where I am in life. That wasn't true before the last year. It was completely not due to anything happening in the world. It was completely due to me. And that's how I became freer. It wasn't relative to anything or anybody else. But I became okay with me. And I hate hearing that from, self-motivation coaches and shit like that. I hate it too, trust me. But it's the only way I know how to describe it. It's wonderful to be okay with yourself and where you are and know where you're going to go and not need to have any title or something that other people will recognize. Screw that, man. Just be you. That's all you need. Anyway, this has been a bit of a rant, actually more than a bit of a rant, a lot of a rant, but I hope that it was interesting. I don't know if you agree with me or not. This is just what I think. If you like it, let me know. If you don't, let me know. I am open, and I am open to criticism, and I almost always respond to comments. Almost always, depending on exactly what it says. Sometimes the worst stuff I just delete. But I try to really reach out to people and allow them in as well. So if you wish to contact me and talk about something like this or any kind of spiritual matter or mental illness, because I cover a lot of that as well as somebody with schizophrenia, feel free to contact me at www.facebook.com/hunter.salazar, HUNTER.SALAZAR. At any rate, thank you very much for watching. Find yourselves. Don't judge yourselves. Don't look at yourself through somebody else's eyes in order to find a sense of self-worth. And have a wonderful day.